range. That's one of the biggest concerns about people considering an EV. Most EVs these days come with about 300 to 400 kilometers of range on a single charge, and if that's not enough, this Hyundai Ioniq 6 could be your cup of tea. This is currently the cheapest EV that can do more than 600 kilometers on a single charge. Alright, hold up. At the time of recording, it was the cheapest EV with over 600 kilometers of range. That title has been snatched by the new Tesla Model 3 Highland long-range all-wheel drive that's priced at 218,000 ringgit. Just putting it out here before you start shooting in the comments. This is Alex from soyachincha.com, and this is the Hyundai Ioniq 6 rear-wheel drive version. Let's check it out. According to Hyundai, the Hyundai Ioniq 6 has a WLTP range of up to 614 km on a single charge. That's enough to get you from Taiping all the way to Johor Bharu. To put that claim to the test, we're in Taiping right now and we're going to make that 600 km journey down south to JB to see whether that claim is really true. Before that, let's do a quick DC fast charging top up at Bukit Gantang southbound R&R. Alright, so at Bukit Gantang R&R station right now, and we're going to charge this car to full before we head to JB. And let's talk a bit more about this Ioniq 6. So essentially, this is a 4-door fully electric sedan that has a very interesting look. The front looks like a Nissan Z Fairlady, and the back looks a bit like a Porsche 911 some sort. But this is basically a very efficient design because it has a core diffusion drag of just 0.21. And that's the reason why this car can be super efficient and can travel up to 614 kilometers on a single charge. In terms of platform, it's closely related with the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6. It uses the same e-GMP platform that uses the 800-volt architecture, which enables the super fast charging from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes using a super fast charger. In terms of size, this car overall is much longer than the Ioniq 5 and the EV6, and the wheelbase sits right in between them at 2,950mm. The Hyundai Ioniq 6 rear-wheel drive Max has a single motor that pushes 225 horsepower and 350 Nm of torque. According to Hyundai, this EV can get from 0 to 100 km per hour in 7.4 seconds, which sounds slightly slower than the BYD Atto 3. However, it does come with a larger 77.4 kWh battery that has a claimed WLTP range of 614 km. At this Bukit Gantang charging station, we charge from 81 to 100% using Jom Charge 50 kW DC charger. Yes, we've said it several times before to avoid DC fast charging beyond 80%, but we're going to do it for this test as we want to find out if the Ioniq 6 rear-wheel drive can get to JB on a single charge from 100%. As expected, charging the final 20% is very slow, and this 26-minute charging session costed us 32 ringgit and 40 cents. Wow. Alright, the car is fully charged. I got 546 kilometers of range, but we are about 589 kilometers to destination. Can we make it? One way to find out. Let's drive. Even at 100% charge, the Ioniq 6 display is showing a much lower range than its claimed 614 km mileage. I'm not too worried, as these figures are merely an estimate based on the past driving history. Based on our calculation, if you can achieve an efficiency of 12.5 kWh per 100 km, we should be able to squeeze 600 km of range on a single charge. Of course, we're not going to do any hypermiling. We're going to drive it up to the national speed limit sensibly, and we try to maintain our speed at 100 km per hour as much as possible. Okay, we've passed Ulu Bernam and there was a slight congestion earlier. Despite the rain and traffic, we managed to achieve an efficiency of 11.8 kWh per 100 km, which is fantastic. The battery is at 75% and we have traveled 172 kilometers. If we maintain this efficiency level, That's more than 680 kilometers on a single charge. Despite the fantastic efficiency figures, the Ioniq 6 is still very conservative as it's still showing just 401 kilometers remaining. Alright, so we left Bukit Gantang at about 4:11. Now it's 7:24 and we've reached the Sungai Buloh overhead bridge R&R. So we drove about 3 hours and a half, quite long because there's a lot of jam. And we managed to get here with about 67% battery left. And we did a quite impressive energy efficiency of just 11.7 kilowatt hour per 100 km. That's crazy low. And most of the times we just drive and we set automatic cruise control up to 110 kilometers per hour. There's a bit of jam, so we average about 50 to 70 kilometers per hour. Once the roads are clear, we've been hitting 110 consistently most of the time. And all I did was just set adaptive cruise control at 110. I've set an eco mode, and since I'm the only one in the car, I set the aircon to driver only. And right now, at 67%, it's showing me that I have about 377 kilometers of range remaining, 377. And we are now 350 kilometers to JB. And I think that I'm pretty confident that we don't need to recharge on the way to JB. So direct from Bukit Gantang all the way to JB in a single charge. Between Sungai Buloh and Senawang, it was mostly clear roads ahead, and we have been maintaining 110 km per hour consistently most of the time. Our power consumption has increased slightly to 11.9 kWh per 100 km, but the car is still showing more range than required to reach our destination. With 325 km traveled at the 50% mark, we are getting more confident with the Ioniq 6 total range. Alright guys, so we are at our final stop at Pagoh R&R before we reach JB. So we have traveled about more than 6 hours now. We've clocked about 439 kilometers and the battery now is left 30%. And we have 167 kilometers of range remaining and we are 138 kilometers to the destination. So it looks like we can reach JB comfortably with sufficient range to find another charger there. So this car has been pretty good so far. Ioniq 6. Truly legendary. So joining me is Levi.
Hi.
So she has been to various road trips and the last one you had was the Kona Electric.
Yes.
So I heard that it was quite exciting, right? So what happened?
We left Penang with like a full charge of battery, around like 300 more kilometers if I'm not wrong. And it was just enough lah to reach KL. But like I think before Ipoh, the battery was like already too low for us to keep driving. And then we're like, okay, we have to stop. So we stopped around like Tapa area. But it was an AC charger, so it took a while. Yeah, but obviously we couldn't wait until it's max lah. We only got charged I think 40 or 50%.
Okay.
So we had to try a lot lah to reach KL. By the time like halfway, not even in KL city, like near our office, we had to off the aircon, off the radio and everything, and just like, and then there was the low power, like low battery already. The turtle mode came out.
The turtle mode came out?
Yes. If I was saying yes, the turtle mode did come out.
Okay, so how many percent was that?
I think, I can't remember how
less than 5,
but it was already showing
the
like,
turtle.
It was already like saying your car battery is low.
Okay.
Like low. So that's when like the panic started.
Okay.
Then when we reached Lalaport, it's like, I can't remember what, but it was very, 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 very low already. And just nice lah that we reached Lalaport. I think if we delayed much longer, right, if there was any traffic, or I don't know what would happen lah. But we made it!
So now you join me in the Ioniq 6. Now we have 26% battery, about 1/4 left. The range is 139 kilometers on the display. And we are 116 kilometers remaining to our destination, which is what? Istana Bukit Serene, right?
Yeah, Istana Bukit Serene.
So how are you feeling?
I want to say, don't know lah. Even it's a lot of range left.
Okay,
like
now 25%.
Oh yeah.
Exactly one quarter.
The battery percentage I cannot look at, but the range I don't mind.
So stay tuned for the next update. Alright, so we're about 1 hour away, and then we got the battery warnings alert. So it says battery warning 20%, and now we have about 104 kilometers of range remaining. And now we are encountering a slight jam, and our battery now is 13%, 13, with remaining 71 kilometers of range. And yeah, so far things are still looking quite alright. We have a buffer of 30 kilometers, so extra 30 kilometers of buffer, and I think we should be fine, right?
I think it should be fine. Like, that's a huge gap.
So yeah, Padang Iskandar Putra. Okay, we're nearby. Yay, next turning 150 meters. Yeah, almost there. 30 minutes left, so 14 km.
Keep left to 1 Jalan Skadai.
The final stretch. Alright, so 10 more minutes to go. 8.9 kilometers away. Battery 6%. Okay, we're in Johor Bharu. Now 6.8 kilometers away. 8 minutes remaining. And we have 6% battery.
Okay.
The final 5 minutes.
I think you have to go this one.
We made it! Woo! 5% battery, 30 kilometers range left, and we made it.
Oh my god, we actually made it.
Yeah. Alright. Let's just stop here. Oh my god, we finally made it. We reached Johor Bharu in just one charge from Taiping all the way to Johor Bharu. So we're at Istana Bukit Serene right now, and this car truly delivers. We reached here with 5% battery left. We're about 30 kilometers of range, and yeah, this is one impressive car. We get an average of 12.2 kilowatt hour per 100 km. That's super impressive. Super efficient as well. This car is just comfortable, easy to drive for long distance journeys, and honestly, what else do you need? Okay, I'm tired. Recap tomorrow morning. Wow, what an epic journey. Levi, where's the nearest charger? Before checking in at our Airbnb, we did a quick top up at Zenith Lifestyle Mall in Johor Bharu. Jom Charge has deployed a 50 kilowatt DC charger at its elevated car park, which is also priced at RM1.20 per minute. We charge from 5% to 32% in 35 minutes, and this charging session costed us 30 ringgit. Good morning. It's a bit raining right now. Well, this Ioniq 6 is a fantastic long distance cruiser, but it has one feature that not many EVs have, and that's called vehicle to load function. I'm having my coffee right now and just cooked a couple of nuggets and fries, powered by the Hyundai Ioniq 6 thanks to the vehicle to load feature. To use vehicle to load, just plug the adapter to the AC port and can power any home appliances up to 3600 watts. While all that is happening on the outside, there's also another power outlet on the inside which I can use to charge my laptop. If you're going to use this feature for a long duration, you can set the car to utility mode so that everything runs off the high voltage battery and it won't use a smaller 12 volt battery. We've been here for about 30 minutes now and the battery has still maintained 29% charge. This is a power bank on wheels. So, the Hyundai Ioniq 6, how is it like to drive? Before this, I've driven a couple of Hyundai and Kia EVs. I've driven the Ioniq 5 and I find that that's a very comfortable EV to drive around your family. But it can get a bit unsettled at high speeds, especially at bumps. But if you want something that's more engaging, that inspires more confidence, the Kia EV6 is a better option. But if you want the best of both worlds, I think this Ioniq 6 nails it. It's slightly more comfortable than the EV6 and you can get loads of fun with this car. And as a sedan, this car sits a bit lower, but you still get ample headroom despite that sloping roofline. And I think it hits the right spots. And in terms of steering, I think this feels more direct than what you get on the EV6. The brakes feel much better as well. And I think that's probably due to the fact that there's no front motors in front. Another reason why the Ioniq 6 is much more comfortable to drive is because of its 18-inch wheels. as opposed to the 20-inch on the all-wheel drive version, as well as the Hyundai Ioniq 5 Max and the Kia EV6. As you expect from a premium EV from Kia and Hyundai, this is a very quiet ride. Road noise is kept to a minimum, and then you don't get much wind noise, and this car can really go. And to achieve the over 600 kilometers of range, you need to decide it on Eco mode. But don't underestimate Eco mode, because the Eco mode on the Hyundai Kia EVs are plenty fast. Another feature that I love about the Ioniq 6 is the heads-up display. This is a feature that I want so badly even in my Kia EV6. In front of me, you get this very clear readout of your current speed, and if you enable adaptive cruise control, you can also see the set speed and also the level of distance from the car in front of you. So if I adjust distance from the steering wheel, it can show me distance 1, distance 2, distance 3. Blind spot detection, so if a car passes by, you can see there's red markers on the sides in front of me. And if the car fails to detect my hands on the steering wheel, it will also put a text alert right in front of me. In terms of the instrument cluster, it looks identical to what you get on a Hyundai and Kia EV. You still get this very nice and clear readout, but sometimes the readout can be blocked by the steering wheel depending on the height adjustment. But luckily, there's a heads-up display which mitigate this issue. And similar to the Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5, when you put on the scene indicators, it does provide a side view of the car that's projected from the cameras from the side mirrors. This gives you a clear view of your blind spot, which is pretty nifty. The seats on the Ioniq 6 are pretty supportive. You get these large bolsters at the sides. They really hug you when you turn in at the corners. However, some might find that the seats are mounted a bit too high. Despite being a lower mounted car, the seating position feels a bit higher than the EV6. But to turn things around, this seating position actually does give you great visibility out. You can really see everything out very clearly, and even the rear glass provides a greater view than the EV6. And the Ioniq 6 also provides ventilated and heated front seats as well. However, my biggest complaint is that there are no physical buttons to activate the ventilated seats. You need to dig through the settings or touch on the capacitive temperature button and go through the menus, which I think is quite a big distraction, especially when you're driving. The best implementation will be the Kia EV6, where you have dedicated buttons for your heated steering, heated seats, and also ventilated seats. And in terms of the climate controls, I did mention in the Ioniq 6 launch video that I like this double stack design, where you have dedicated controls for your media as well as for aircon. But after driving this car for about 2-3 days now, I find that the controls can be a little bit finicky. Number one, the icons are just scattered over the place and there's no clear separation. And in terms of adjusting the aircon, you need to touch these arrow buttons down here, which is quite small. I prefer to use the knobs that you get on the Kia EV6. The steering on the Ioniq 6 feels pretty good. You get this flat bottom design and this leatherette kind of finishing. And if you look in the center, there's no H logo, and what you get is just 4 dots, which is actually the Morse code for letter H for Hyundai. And new on the Ioniq 6 is that these 4 little dots are now illuminated. So this can be used to show your battery level as well as which mode you're in. For example, if you press Eco mode, it will turn green. You change to Sport, it becomes red. And Hyundai has also added a couple of premium touches to the steering wheel. Just look at the buttons over here. To adjust the adaptive cruise control speed as well as the track you're playing in the media controls, you have these nice metallic little knobs over here, which feels quite good to touch. And also there's this scroll wheel for the volume controls as well as the menu selection scroll. It feels pretty high quality over here. It's much better than what you get on the Ioniq 5 and the EV6. And on the bottom left of the steering wheel, you also have the drive mode button. At first glance, it looks like a knob that can turn around, but it's not. It's actually a push button. And you can just push to go to normal, sport, and eco. And similar to the Ioniq 5, you have this twisty stop at the bottom over here as a drive selection. So you can twist this stop to switch from drive, neutral, reverse, and press the side button for park. This might take a while to get used to because the way they lay out is different from normal logic. Because typically you might think reverse is up, drive is down. But to reverse, you need to twist downwards for reverse. And to drive, you must twist it upwards. Sometimes I find myself changing the wrong direction, like I want reverse but switch to drive by mistake, and that's because it's going against logic. Of course, the biggest highlight of this car is the efficiency. It's so easy to get 15 kWh or less even if you drive like a madman. On my Kia EV6, I average about 17 kWh per 100 km for long distance drives, and on this car, as we demonstrate from our trip to Taiping to JB, we got like 12.2 kWh per 100 km. That's super impressive. Another thing worth highlighting is road tax. Yes, EVs don't need to pay road tax for now as part of the government incentive until 2025. And of course, you got to start paying road tax beginning 2026. And at the moment, the structure is a bit expensive. It's not fair for EVs. For example, if you have a 200 horsepower car, 150 kilowatt, you're looking at paying 903 ringgit for road tax. That's 10 times more expensive than a 1.6 liter turbo engine. For example, the Kona electric 1.6 turbo, that's about 200 horsepower, that road tax is 90 ringgit. And the Kona electric with 201 horsepower, the road tax is 903 ringgit. And of course, the government is looking at revising the formula. Transport Minister Anthony Loke did say that they're looking at making EVs, the road tax for EVs, cheaper than petrol cars. But we don't have the full details just yet. But he did mention that it will be calculated based on power output. So this car with 228 horsepower will have cheaper road tax than the Ioniq 5 Max, the Kia EV6, and even the Volvo XC40. You don't need 300 horsepower, guys. This is more than enough. The Ioniq 6 is the perfect long distance cruiser. The interior looks very different from what you get on the Ioniq 5. In the Ioniq 5, it looks more like a lounge, so you get this open space and you have this movable center island. On the Ioniq 6, is a more driver-focused interior. You have this center console which is fixed, that's very long, and they also have a very interesting door design where you don't have any buttons at all on the sides, except for the door handle and the two memory seat buttons, and everything else is moved to the center console. It's like, for example, the power windows, they're all mounted in the center, like what you get in the older BMW and Mercedes. And you also get the buttons to unlock and lock the car in the center, which is super useful for other occupants. So let's say, for example, you're going to step out to tapao something from the restaurant, your passenger can help to lock and unlock the car from the center here. This is a much more convenient placement. But there are some things that I don't like about this. The controls for the power mirror are set down here on the lower right section of the steering wheel. This is something that you usually find on cheaper cars, like, you know, the Pulau Duas and all that. And I prefer to have the controls on the right side over here, because number one, you want to adjust the mirror based on your sitting position. So you need to be in the right position and adjust the mirrors accordingly. And I can't even see it from here. It's out. It's blocked by this annoying gear selector stalk. So I need to turn my head aside here to adjust the side mirrors, which is annoying. I mean, since you have a fixed center console up here, why not just move this thing over here? That would be a better design decision, I guess. And another thing that I don't like is that at the bottom of this door trim, you have this long tray. You can put a lot of stuff, but it couldn't fit a 750 milliliter water bottle. I can't fit it in here. It just couldn't fit. This is basic stuff, guys. Why can't fit a water bottle inside? You only can fit maybe a small Red Bull can, 250 ml, and that's about it. You can't fit water bottles. In terms of connectivity, it does support Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it's still wired using USB-A. But on the flip side, this car uses USB-C ports for all the charging, so that's a huge improvement from the Ioniq 5, which still uses USB-A. Despite having a fixed center console up here, you still get amples of storage underneath. You have this whole tray down here, which is made possible with a dedicated EV platform because it has a flat floor. However, like the Ioniq 5, it's lacking a lot of an organizer kind of a thing. So there's not much place to put small stuff, like for example your touch and go card or your smart tag, because you just have a big space over here. Everything is rolling around. These door handles, it looks cool because you have this whole width over here as the handle. If I put my card over here, you just slide down when I accelerate, and you're going to struggle to find your touch and go card and parking tickets. There's no felt material at the side down here. So you put keys or cards, you're just going to rattle around because there's no soft touch material. But the interior of this Ioniq 6 has a couple of interesting design quirks. Like for example, this door over here. It has this nice wavy pattern over here. Looks quite cool, especially at night. And this car has dual zone LED illumination. So you can set different colors on the top and bottom. And each time you start the car or you switch off the car, you get this interesting night show in the front where you have this LED strip that has a welcome animation. Looks pretty cool. Just that it's a pity that it doesn't run all the way. You only get this LED strip in the middle. It doesn't cover the left aircon and right aircon vents. It's only in the center. Hyundai's interior is still quite plasticky. Like for example, this thing over here, it has this like matte plastic kind of looking thing. But if you have greasy hands, right, or even like water droplets, you can see the stain over here. It looks pretty nasty. So you need to wipe this quite often. Unlike the Kia that uses more texture, like like leatherette texture, that hides it pretty well, but this is just hard plastic. You can really feel and see it yourself. But this doesn't mean that the interior is low quality. It's actually high quality, just that the choice of materials and texture could have been better. And you also get these very weird looking fins on the sides over here. In case you're wondering why it's designed that way, it's because in other markets, they have like a different wing mirrors that uses cameras. And these fins over here are meant to mount the digital screens that show your side view that's projected from the side camera. And the Ioniq 6 gets a Bose sound system. There's 8 speakers over here. Quite clear. I think it sounds better than what you get on the Ioniq 5. I'm not sure whether it's a placement or they use different kind of speakers, but they sound pretty good. And on the door sills over here, you get this kind of like a mesh kind of material with Bose logo over here. And over the back, it's quite comfortable for 2 passengers. You can put 3 at a squeeze because it's quite narrow. It's not as wide as you think. But with 2 passengers at the back, I think this is quite a comfortable place to be in. Based on my seating position for the front seats, when I sit at the back, I get ample amount of knee room. Leg room is pretty decent. I can slightly slip my feet underneath the front seats since the seats are mounted slightly higher. Headroom, quite decent. Being 180 cm, I'm about maybe 1 inch from the roofline. Pretty okay. But the thing is, these seats are fixed. You can't slide the seats. You can't even adjust for tilt. Not like what you get from the Ioniq 5, where you can get both sliding as well as tilting seats. And since this is like a sedan, you get a traditional boot at the back with 401 liters of storage. Doesn't sound that much, but I think it's pretty decent for a sedan. And since this is a rear-wheel drive version, you get a much usable frunk in the front. So you have 45 liters of storage, which is big enough to put your backpack. And I tried to put my laptop back, no issues, you can fit it in. And that's because there's no front motor. Unlike the EV6 as well as the Ioniq 5 Max, that only comes about 20 or 25 liters. That's tiny. Pretty useless if you ask me. On the Ioniq 5, I like the fact that they use a glove drawer. So instead of a normal glove box that opens like that, you get an actual pull-out drawer, which is pretty cool and very spacious. On the Ioniq 6, well, it uses a traditional glove box, which opens like that, but it's still quite deep and very usable. In fact, I can even fit my 14-inch Asus ZenBook laptop inside there. So it's pretty good. Overall, the driving experience is similar to what you get from the current Hyundai and Kia EVs. That also means you get various controls for regenerative braking through the pedal shifters. You can set to iPedal for single pedal mode, auto, as well as manual regen levels. Interestingly, the regen force isn't as strong as the Ioniq 5 Max and the Kia EV6, but I guess that's probably due to the rear-wheel drive setup. Even if you set the car to eco mode, it still offers very linear pickup, and you can easily break the speed limit quite effortlessly. Besides the fancy ambient lighting, the surround cameras are surprisingly clear at night. It's definitely more high resolution and less noise than the cameras on the Kia EV6. The Hyundai Ioniq 6 also gets some nifty cool features which can come in handy at the car park. Not only you can remote start the car, you can even move the car forward and backwards via the remote control. This is pretty useful in getting out from a tight parking spot. If you're feeling a bit lazy, there's also a smart parking assist feature where the car can detect an empty parking lot and it will park the car for you. You can choose to auto park the car while you're inside the vehicle or outside the car. This feature takes a while and honestly, it's quicker to park the car yourself. Also Hyundai, what's up with this cheap looking remote control? This looks more like a toy than a remote for a 300,000 ringgit car. Another key advantage of the Hyundai and Kia e-GMP platform is the 800-volt battery architecture. When plugged to a 350 kilowatt DC fast charger, it can do 10 to 80% charge in just 18 minutes. Despite the advertising claims, the actual maximum speed is about 233 to 237 kilowatts. With an 800-volt architecture, the Ioniq 6 can sustain its maximum charging rate for a longer period of time. Alright, so we just done a quick charge. We just got from 10 to 80% in just 20 minutes and we transferred a total of 56 kilowatt hour. So that's more than enough to get this car back to KL on a single drive. Once we returned back to KL, it only took us 14 minutes to top up the battery from 26 to 80% charge on a 350 kilowatt charger. This is still one of the fastest EV charging that I've experienced from an EV. As you can tell, I'm super tired right now. So we made it back to KL and we are at X-Park Sunway Serene at Gentari's charging hub right now. And from Air Hitam, we charge at 80% and we get here with 26% battery left remaining. And honestly, we have very spirited driving. I don't want to say how fast we drive. And we get an efficiency of 16.4 kilowatt hour per 100 km. That's insanely efficient. That's much more efficient than my EV6 when I drive it very lightly long distance. To me, the Ioniq 6 is an impressive car if you're looking for efficiency. You want to get the most range out of your battery. This is the car to get. Of course, there are a couple of downsides in terms of practical storage. There's a bit of hit and miss. Ergonomic wise, there's some issues as well. Some places are not ergonomically designed, like for example, the power window controls as well as the controls for the side mirror. Another issue with Hyundai and Kia in Malaysia especially, there's no mobile app, there's lacking connectivity, there's no satellite navigation, there's no application. So you can't use your smartphone to check the status of the car, you can't see how fast it's charging, whether it's fully charged. And that's one of the biggest limitations for the Kia and the Hyundai vehicles, especially this Ioniq 6. I mean, come on man, it's 2023. Even a smart device like a purifier even has a connected app which can check remotely. So yeah, that wraps up our review of the Hyundai Ioniq 6 rear-wheel drive version. I mean, single motor, impressive performance, impressive mileage. What more can you ask for? This is Alex from soychinchan.com. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, like us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe us on the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell icon so they can be informed about future videos. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!